It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is Thursday, February 11th, 2021, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. Now, today we'll get some coronavirus updates. Because it's Thursday also, guys, it is question and answer, and of course, Victory Rhymes by Youngse from South Africa. So, how are you guys doing today? It is Thursday. We're going towards the end of the weekend. I hope you guys really enjoyed the service last night, hearing the message from the head leader. So let's get this day started together here on the Morning Star Drive. And just want to remind everyone, keep liking, keep commenting. I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Of course, did you guys see the vlog yesterday? I did a Chinese New Year or a Lunar New Year holiday vlog since I'm here in Southeast Asia. I gave a very interesting and cool story. So go ahead and check that out on the SKY YouTube channel. Now, this Sunday, who are we going to meet for the Sunday edition? Who are we going to meet? We're going to go all the way over to a country we've never been before. Once again, we're going to head over to Sweden. Yes, we're going over to Sweden, and we're going to meet a member. Her name is Tobina. So it's a Korean name. To means again, and then pit is light, na is to shine, right? Tobina, okay? So she is a face star, and she is a crazy evangelist, okay? I'm saying crazy mean crazy good. You got to listen to her story. She works full-time. She goes, she works, not full-time. She works, goes to school, and she evangelizes, like, amazingly. So, guys, those of you who are working or going to school and wondering how to evangelize during this pandemic time, if you guys find out right now, just through the internet, she's already lecturing like 10 people right now. Okay, so you gotta watch it. It's so good. So very thankful she spent her time to do this interview. And so everyone make sure to catch next week's Sunday edition all the way over there in Sweden with Tobina. All right, so it is Thursday, and what we're gonna get into first is the feature arts of the day. We're gonna get things started with our member artists from all over the world. First song is gonna be all the way in Korea. From the Paper Music Associates, we have PGY, and this song is Dr. Rain. Second song is from Kumachang in Japan, and one of my favorite songs this is probably my favorite song right now, is Open My Eyes. Great song. And last but not least, it is Renee live from Taiwan. She's going to cover an English song, guys. She's from Taiwan. Her English isn't perfect, but when she sings, she sounds like she speaks English. So this is from the soundtrack of The Greatest Showman on Earth, and the song is A Million Dreams. So I hope that you guys, once again, pray for these member artists to make better and greater music, so that this music and the message of the word will be able to go all the way into the world. So make sure, everyone, we pray for our member artists.
My name, I'm a 95 model, a defective robot. Oh, it's today, I have an appointment. I'm gonna meet my last moment. You're lucky to see me
揺れないでこう、どんなかな迫害が来ても動じない強い信仰を持って立ち向かおう。ファミリーで GO ファミリーで GO 全ての人を受け入れられる家族のような温かさを持ってゆこう。主の御心ファーストでゆこう。いつも主の心情と共に主の言葉を最優先にして動き出そう。伝えよう。御言葉実践し挑戦してナンバーワンを目指してゆこう。全ての個性才能生かし挑戦しよう。主役になろう。伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining 伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining オープンでこうオープンでこう。地域や社会の目線に立ち発展に積極的に貢献しよう。近づいてこう近づいてこう。全ての世代と距離を近く親しく接したならは僕をなそう。縛られてる心を捨ててこう。新しい取り組みをしよう。主の言葉で心を燃やして動き出そう。どんどんチャレンジしよう。家族のような温かさで愛に満ちた教会しよう。CGM オープンの先駆者として強みを生かし大胆になろう。伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining 伝えたい I'm happy I'm happy 新しく You are shining You are shining 主の御言葉に出会い全て与えられた。何もない私だったけど育ててくれた。その愛をいつまでも忘れずにいよう。これやったものすべて捧げ御心な実践し挑戦してナンバーワンを目指してゆこう。全ての個性才能生かし挑戦しよう。主役になろう。 Open the eyes Open the door Open my heart 御心探して Open the eyes Open the door Open my heart 未来照らす my way。
I close my eyes and I can see a world is waiting up for me that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in the world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build
Every room inside is filled with things from far away. The special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to the world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you will see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. And think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
And that was Renee Lai from Taiwan. An English cover she did, A Million Dreams from the Greatest Showman on Earth soundtrack. Before that, Kuma-chan in Japan with Open My Eyes. And of course, the featured artist of the day is PGY from the Paper Music Associates in Korea. And that song was Dr. Rain. So let's get into some news that's going around the world. We're going to start with the coronavirus updates for today. And not very good news, because not only did the global mortality rate go up, but 3 of the top 6 countries also their mortality rates went up. So it's in the world right now 107.3 million cases with 2.3 million deaths, and that is a 2.19% mortality rate. The US also going up in the mortality rate, 27.7 million cases, 479,000 deaths, and 1.73% mortality rate. And they say that the US will probably hit 500,000 deaths by the end of this month. India has 10.8 million cases, 155,000 deaths at 1.43%. Brazil, 9.6 million cases, 233,000 deaths at 2.43%. Russia, with 3.9 million cases, 77,000 deaths at 1.94%. UK, 3.9 million cases, 113,000 deaths, and their mortality rate went up to 2.87%. And Spain, also, mortality rate goes up to 2.1%. It jumped to 0.02%, so that's a big jump. When it comes to mortality rates. 3 million cases with 63,000 deaths. Sweden drops finally. It's been a while since Sweden, the mortality rate has dropped, but they have dropped down to 2.04%, and Belgium once again remains at 2.95%. Let's take a look at daily infection rates. Yes, things are getting better and better. It looks like even in the US, as they drop under 100,000 cases in a day. They're at 90,000 cases for a day. Brazil with 25,000, Spain with 19, Russia with 15, the UK with 14, and once again India with 8,900 cases. Over here, Southeast Asia, Indonesia with 8,200 cases, and then Malaysia with 3,100, and the Philippines with 1,600 cases in a day. So that is the coronavirus updates, which leaves us to three of the top news that I picked for today. Of course, I don't see everything, but I'm looking at the things that are quite interesting, and I guess they would be like things that are very significant or historical. So the first one is very historical. It is the Emirates Mars mission. Like, no one has heard about this because of the pandemic and all the other different things going on, right? So they have a spacecraft called the Hope spacecraft, and it finally entered orbit. So the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, celebrating its first mission to Mars. Right? It's put a probe called Hope in orbit around the planet, making it only the fifth spacefaring entity to do so after the US, the Soviet Union, Europe, and India. So the spacecraft, which left Earth 7 months ago, had to make a braking maneuver to be sure of being captured by the Mars gravity. So the UAE scientists can now look forward to studying the planet's atmosphere. Their satellite carries 3 instruments that will observe, among other targets, how neutral atoms of hydrogen and oxygen, remnants from Mars' once abundant water, leaked into space. Now, in the process, Hope will return spectacular high-resolution full-disk images of the planet, and Tuesday marked the most critical phase in the mission. So, the Hope spacecraft had been approaching Mars at around 120,000 kilometers an hour and needed to execute a precise 27-minute burn on its braking engines to scrub some of that speed or risk skipping off into even deeper space, right? So the maneuver performed by 6 thrusters on the probe commenced at around 7:30 local time, right? And with confirmation received at Earth some 11 minutes later, the delay being the time it took for radio signals to traverse the 190 million kilometer separation between Mars and Earth. Can you believe that, guys? That transmission traveled 190 million kilometers in 11 minutes, which is just ridiculous, right? So the official announcement on the burn's completion when it came was calm and the applause relatively restrained. Perhaps it was a relief speaking after a nerve-shredding wait for the positive telemetry. Now, the Mars orbit insertion was the most critical and dangerous part of the journey to Mars, and basically it's exposing the Hope spacecraft probe to stresses and pressures it has never faced before, right? So with this is like the huge milestone that's been achieved by the UAE, and they're now preparing to transition to their science orbit and commence science data gathering. So the past few days have witnessed tremendous enthusiasm for Hope and its mission, with public monuments, buildings, and heritage sites across the Federation all lit up in red, right? So Hope is now running an initial ellipse around Mars that comes as close as 1,000 kilometers from the planet and goes out to almost 50,000 kilometers, right? So over the course of the next few weeks, this will be trimmed to a 55-hour, 22,000 kilometer by 43,000 kilometer orbit that is inclined to the equator by about 25 degrees, right? So this is a really this is a huge thing that's happening over there in the Middle East. The first probe sent to Mars, okay? Second news. There's a company called Eli Lilly, and Eli Lilly's COVID antibody drug combination gets the US nod. So there's a 2-drug combination which aims to help patients with mild coronavirus symptoms from becoming more severe, and Eli Lilly and Co., they have a combination antibody drug for the coronavirus, and it was cleared for emergency use by U.S. regulators, providing doctors with a treatment option that is expected to be better able to combat new coronavirus mutations. So the FDA authorized a treatment for use in corona-positive adults and children 12 and older who are at risk of developing severe forms of the disease or progressing to the hospital, according to a fact sheet posted Tuesday by the agency. So this combo treatment is the second antibody therapy from the Indianapolis-based drug maker to gain an emergency authorization from the FDA. In November, the agency cleared something called bamlanivimab. Okay, bamlanivimab, one of the 2 antibodies used in the cocktail for use in non-hospitalized high-risk patients with mild to moderate symptoms of the coronavirus. So bamlanivimab, developed by AbCellera Biologics Incorporated, mimics the immune system's virus fighting powers. Now, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals Inc. also gained FDA authorization for a product combining 2 antibodies last year. former President Donald Trump received Regeneron's drug after contracting the coronavirus. So many drug makers, from AstraZeneca to Bristol Myers, are developing products to compete in the increasingly crowded field. So Eli Lilly's newly authorized combination includes a 700 milligram dose of bamlanivimab, and a 1,400 milligram dose of another antibody called etesevimab. Okay, so the tandem will be supplied in separate single-dose vials, but administered together using a single infusion bag, according to the FDA. So patients must get the infusion as soon as possible after a positive coronavirus test or within 10 days of symptom onset. So with additional manufacturing help from Amgen Inc., Lilly said it will produce up to 1 million doses of these drugs for administration with both the etesevimab and the bamlanivimab by mid-2021. So the companies have already made 100,000 doses of them, 100,000 doses of the etesevimab, and another 150,000 doses will be made available throughout the first quarter. Okay, so if you look at the data on these antibody drugs, in late January, so this is really recent, Lilly reported some results from a late-stage trial showing that a combination of bamlanivimab and etesevimab cut the chances of hospitalizations and deaths by 70% in high-risk patients. So this is something that's really, really good news, that they also have another drug that will help people that are already getting mild to severe symptoms. Now, this last one is quite interesting. I was looking at South Korea because, people are really interested in what's happening in South Korea also. And first one I saw was, that in Korea they are testing cats and dogs for the coronavirus. Yes, it sounds funny, but they are. So it's not so much that people are catching it from the cats and dogs. That's not what's happening. It's actually the cats and dogs are catching it from the humans, from their owners, right? So they are testing cats and dogs, and if they are tested positive, their cats and dogs go into quarantine. But that's not what I'm talking about, South Korea. I'm talking about something more serious, because these are just cats and dogs. Well, to some of you out there, cats and dogs, sometimes you treat them better than human beings. I understand why sometimes too, but they're just cats and dogs. Either way, so let's take a look at South Korea's jobless rate, and it hits a 21-year high as the coronavirus cases rise. So a very bleak unemployment picture contrasts sharply with a view that South Korea's economy has outperformed its developed peers. Okay? So South Korea's jobless rate surged to its highest in more than 2 decades, raising concern that an export-driven recovery could be masking a harsher scarring on the economy. So the unemployment rate jumped to 5.4% in January from a revised 4.5% the previous month, right? And this hits the highest level since the aftermath of the Asian financial crisis, way back then when there was the IMF. So the sharp deterioration in the labor market contrasts with the view that Korea's economy has been one of the best performers in the developed world last year, and suggests the government may need to take more actions to support jobs. Okay, so what they're basically saying is they're very heavy on exports, right? Which is not giving you jobs, but people are still losing their jobs, but they're just gaining a lot of money from exporting, right? So this huge hit to jobs is going to weigh on the pace of economic recovery. And economists in Seoul's Yonsei University are talking about this. Are people looking for jobs will also decrease as the economy worsens, which may technically bring down the jobless rate, but economic difficulties will continue. So Korea's job market took a sharp turn for the worse in December when the government tightened its social distancing rules as daily infection cases rose to over 1,000 cases a day. In January, the sector combining retailers, wholesalers, restaurants, and hotels was hit hardest, with 585,000 job losses from a year earlier. More than 340,000 positions were shed in a sector that includes public service as the government's job creation measures expired before a new start. And manufacturing also lost 46,000 jobs. So what the Bloomberg economics says, it says, given the hit to the economy from the latest virus wave and tightened curbs, they continue to see potential for additional extra budgets to secure the recovery. So while resurgent export strength has put the economy on track to reach per capita income levels of the group of 7 nations, the unemployment jump shows the lagging impact of the pandemic is biting deeper into employment than expected as a K-shaped recovery becomes much more clear. So policymakers will likely be hoping that the situation will ease as further government support feeds into the economy and virus restrictions are loosened further. So the government takes the situation very seriously and will use all available options to deal with it. So the finance minister over there said in a statement, blaming the job losses partly on expired fiscal support for jobs creation at the turn of the year and a high year earlier base. So the latest figures may indicate that not enough fiscal support is coming through, or at least not quickly enough. So potentially it's requiring a tweak of the timing of existing planned measures or an outright expansion. And this is the chief economist for Asia Pacific at ING, right? So also the president, Moon Jae-in, he's calling for incentives for companies that would share some of their profits during the pandemic with ones that suffered, a move that could indirectly support employment, and some lawmakers are putting pressure on the Bank of Korea to adopt the jobs mandate as part of its goals, right? So the job market outlook based on Korea's virus caseload looks slightly better as the number of daily infections eased to a few hundred more than 1,000 in December. So the government is gradually relaxing its social distancing rules, allowing longer opening hours for some retail businesses such as coffee shops and gyms outside Seoul, right? So let's hope and see what's going to happen over there in Korea, that things will get better, especially when it comes to jobs, because we have a lot of members over there too. Hopefully they're not getting too stung by it. Okay, and that is the current news going around the world, top 3 news that I picked for today. If there's any news that you really think that I should do, please DM me, PM me, or write a comment in there so that I can take a look at it also. Okay, so what does that mean right now then? That brings us into a time of praise and worship for this Thursday, and this is why I'm not a praise leader. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's get into time for some spiritual time. Spiritual time. We're gonna start looking into doing praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. So we're going to start off with something fast. We're going to go, let's go, the time has come. And then, of course, we're going to love in a fiery way, and we'll end things off and break it down to we are one. So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let us spend this time giving glory to the Holy Trinity.
Come on, time to go now. Heaven's time has arrived now. Heaven is waiting, and all those clouds of people too. They waited for this time. Do the right work at the right time. There is a product God has given me. At that instant, don't miss the chance. Don't let time
passed away. Everything is new now. Hear the new word of God for this time. Then the fire of the great Holy Spirit will burn. It'll burn fierily, fierily. You'll be moved, you'll be moved, you'll be moved. Now the Lord we had been waiting for, He's returned, hope is fulfilled. Love the Lord, love the Lord, love the Lord. We will love fierily, fierily. This is the rapture we've waited for. Rise up and rapture more every day. Onward to reach heaven's highest city of gold. God the Spirit and the Lord, Holy Son, shining with brilliance and beauty, everlasting. Love the Lord, only the Lord, only Him. Love the Lord, love the Lord, love the Lord. We will love fierily, fierily. This is the rapture we've waited for. Rise up and rapture more every day. Onward to reach heaven's highest city of gold. God the Spirit and the Lord, Holy Son, shining with brilliance and beauty, everlasting. Love the Lord, only the Lord, only Him, shining with brilliance and beauty, everlasting. Love the Lord, only the Lord, only Him. Long ago, when I preached the gospel to this world, the people there often tried to block my path. In the end, I took the cross and walked that path. With my body, I suffered for their sins, while the ones who believed felt anguish in their hearts. They preached for me and became my hands and feet, giving up their lives to make God's dreams come true. With the Spirit's fire, they preached to all the world. Oh, my purpose of creation, will it ever be accomplished? Will the day come when this world can become my world of true love? For the sake of heaven's history, go for me and be my body. I'm filled with hope when I see the fire in your heart. For you and I will never part. You are my body in this world. I fulfill the will of heaven here on the earth. I work through you, my love. For you and I will never part. We are not two, but we are one. So forever be with me and let us share eternal love. Even now, when I preach the gospel to this world, I speak to them through the person I have sent. Many brides united with His heart will come. They will fill the earth and preach to all mankind.
of the world, I will always be your guide. So be reborn through the Holy Spirit's fire. Will you preach my words to those still bound to death? Will you let them know about this heart of mine? Oh, my purpose of creation, will it ever be accomplished? Will the day come when this world can become my world of true love? For the sake of heaven's history, go for me and be my body. I'm filled with hope when I see the fire in your heart. For you and I will never part. You are my body in this world. I fulfill the will of heaven here on the earth. I work through you, my love. For you and I will never part. We are not two, but we are one. So forever be with me and let us share eternal love. For you and I will never part. Become my body in this world. I fulfill the will of heaven here on the earth. I work through you, my love. Just as the clouds form in the skies, through you I'll gather many lives. So forever be with me for eternity as one.
And that was We Are One. And before that, Love in a Fire Away. And Let's Go, The Time Has Come. And I hope you guys really enjoyed that time of praise and worship and giving it to the Holy Trinity. All right, so that brings us into a little bit more spiritual time. And we're getting into a word study, not word study, sorry. Our word study today is actually going to be Q&A. And this is actually a question I actually got from a newcomer who has a business. And in their business, they have this one brand new fiery Christian. Okay, so this person used to be like a model, whatever it is. They became this new Christian just recently. They're super fiery and kind of always lecturing this newcomer about like how they should run their business according to the Bible. So interestingly enough, this is not the first time, but they this newcomer called me and said, "Hey, what does this mean? Like, I don't understand what this person is trying to say to me." Okay, so what this person sent me was a Bible verse, and this person said, "There's a Bible verse that one of my coworkers or one of the bosses sent me, and that coworker sent me the verse of Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5." And this is one of the verses that a lot of Christians use when it comes to cross-dressing or being transgender. Okay, so basically, what the verse actually says is, it says, "The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God." Okay, so this is what a lot of Christians use. They misuse basically more than anything else, saying that you're not like how can like this is a fashion company, so sometimes the men are wearing makeup or they're wearing dresses, like like not like women's dress, but they're wearing like dress type things, and then they do have like someone who is transgender model that it looks more effeminate and whatnot, right? So they kept whenever these things pop up, they refuse to like put up a poster of the company because it shows a man wearing wearing women's clothes or whatever it is. Okay, so of course we're gonna look at this and say, oh, okay, that's interesting. It says that the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. Seems very simple. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, right? And this is an abomination unto the Lord thy God, right? So it is very simple for us to just read that and say, look, it says that you shouldn't do that, and this is why when it comes to fashion, guys can't wear girls' clothes and girls can't wear guys' clothes. Okay, so when you kind of like, one of the things that we do have to understand is the world is growing smaller. meaning that we're very connected with each other, and culture plays a huge role. Because if you go to Scotland, you can wear a dress, like a kilt, right? You go to Hawaii, they wear the grass skirts, right? You go to Fiji, they wear grass skirts. So it's kind of interesting how culture plays a big role in fashion too. Like even if you go to India, it's like they're wearing these long robes, like and people are talking about, oh, you can't wear women can't wear trousers, they have to wear long dresses, and you would have to look at it in a very cultural context, right? That fashion is very different too. And there's when the fashion comes, it changes from culture to culture, and some places men dress more effeminate. Well, effeminate for the person who's looking from a different culture, saying, oh, guys shouldn't wear that. But technically speaking, in that culture, that's a normal thing. So they're not really trying to dress like women. That's just how men dress, kind of thing, right? But of course, this is a fashion company, and they do it to, it's for fashion more than anything else, okay? So let me just kind of go into this Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5, which is used a lot by Christians for like, oh, how can a woman wear a suit? Suits are for men, or they get really super strict, like, no, women can't wear pants or whatever it is, right? So let's take a look at even how like Jewish rabbis look at this verse, right? And the very interesting thing is, like, even amongst Jewish rabbis, there's no collective agreement as to what this verse means precisely, which means there's a general agreement, right? And the general agreement, even by Jewish rabbis, is that it does not refer to those who cross-dress or to transgender people who wear clothing more aligned with their gender identity, right? So let me first tell you like the three major ways that people look at this verse. Okay, so one way of looking at the verse is wearing clothing of the other sex with the intention to deceive, right? And of course, another interpretation proposes that the phrase, that which pertaineth to a man, refers to a sword or other pieces of his weaponry, or in other words, a woman should not be given weapons and sent to war. And it is also similarly suggested that this verse can mean that a man should not dress in the clothes of a woman to hide among women, particularly during a time when he should be soldiering. Okay, so that means like some people will pretend to be a woman because they don't want to go to war, so they hide with the woman, right? So the first one about the way we think about deceiving people, that, oh, I'm a man, but I'm actually dressing as a girl, like transgender and cross-dressing, those are actually not predominant arguments, right? They're not like those, that one about cross-dressing and transgender, like dressing your clothes, is actually not one of the bigger arguments that it's making. Like most people believe in the last two ones I was telling you about, right? So this is kind of, these two predominant arguments are in line with the general instruction found throughout Jewish law to keep things separate, right? So, all throughout the Bible is always about separation. The seeds in a vineyard, and an ox and a donkey when plowing, wool and linen in clothing. And also, interestingly, is men and women in ancient Israel, and even today in some very, very traditional Orthodox Orthodox sects, men and women are separated. They're regularly segregated. So that's why they limit their interaction. And this argument is supported by the discourse on marriage and adultery that follows Deuteronomy later on in verse 13 to 30. So the intent of this law in Deuteronomy 22 verse 5 is more of the last interpretation of the verse, is to prevent men and women from mixing by deceitful entry into the segregated space of the other sex with the intent of committing adultery, right? Or in the verse, adultery is actually what is called an abomination unto God. So cross-dressing is not strictly and always forbidden in the law. It was specifically permitted beginning in the 16th century, right, by Jewish people. In Jewish law, it was permitted, that allowed men to dress as women and women as men for the Jewish feast of Purim for the purpose of celebration, as opposed to with the intent to deceive and commit adultery, right? So the interpretations of these verses are very, very diverse, and many conservative Christians try to use a verse to condemn transgender people and, cross-dressers, but most in Jewish legal discussion of the verse, it centers on the intention of deception. Why are you dressing that way? So deception, however, is not the motivation of, like, if you think about it technically for transgender, right? Their motivation is not to deceive, right? it's actually they feel that they really feel that they're a woman or a man inside, and they're trying to, more than anything, decrease their emotional mental stress by kind of making their outward appearance feel like their inside appearance. So they're not trying to literally go out and try to, their intent of wearing the women's clothes or men's clothes is not to go against them, right? So in this case, they say that those two biggest arguments for this one verse, if you look deeper into it and look into the culture behind it, is mainly for men and women trying to commit adultery. They cross-dress to mingle among the segregated, because since men and women were segregated, a man would dress like a woman to get into the group of women and then commit adultery. Or a woman would do the same on the other side, which probably is more unlikely, right? So this is kind of what they were talking about here, right? And if it's talking about clothes, it's very difficult. Like you could say that, like if you were to take the argument of the first argument of cross-dressing and transgenderism, the hard part would be could you really say you can't wear a dress when in some cultures the guys wear a dress? You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. Like it's something that it would be very difficult to kind of break down and say, oh, this is exactly what it means. But when you look at the cultural context or what was actually happening during that time, you'll see that this verse is not really the way that people argue the legality of this of the verse of Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 5. It is not quite. It's not really quite talking about transgender or cross-dressing. Right, so that's kind of the background behind this. So this is what I told that newcomer, and it's kind of weird how a passionate young Christian is trying to force the Bible and like even if it's a misinterpreted view onto people who are non-Christian, right? Which I think is kind of weird. But either way, so that is the question of the day. Hope you guys really learned something from that, right? Okay, so now that we got that question answer in the bag, we're going to go into the song of choice for today. And what is the song of choice? Today's song of choice is going to be another boy band, and it's my second song I've ever heard from One Direction. Yes, One Direction, one of the newest boy bands. Well, they're split up now, but One Direction, this song is called One Thing. Right, so this is once again the English-Irish boy band, One Direction, and this is from the year 2012, right? And of course, this is a song about the person's infatuation with the significant other. Okay, cool. All right, so welcome the boy band. Today's boy band song is One Direction, and this song is called One Thing.
I've tried playing it cool, but when I'm looking at you, I can't ever be brave, 'cause you make my heart race. Shot me out of the sky, you're my kryptonite. You keep making me weak, yeah, frozen and can't breathe. Something's gotta give now, 'cause I'm dying just to make you see that I need you here with me now. 'Cause you've got that one thing. So get out of my head and fall into my arms instead. I don't know what it is, but I need that one thing. You got that one thing. Now I'm climbing the walls, but you don't notice at all. Get out of my head and fall into my arms instead. So get out of my head and fall into my arms instead. I don't know what it is, but I need that one thing. Get out of my mind and come into my life. I don't know what it is, but I need that one thing, and you got that one thing.
And that was One Direction. Yes, the Irish English boy band. Great song, very catchy beat. Yes, it reminds me of a real boy band. So yes, I am starting to get a little bit more comfortable with One Direction. Not just the Backstreet Boys and like New Kids on the Block and stuff like that. But this is actually pretty good stuff. This is good boy band stuff. All right, I hope you guys really enjoyed that. Which means we're going into the last section for today. What is last section? Because it's Thursday. What does that mean? We are going to listen to Victory Rhymes by Youngse from South Africa.
Hey, and what's up, everyone? Welcome to another segment of Victory Rhymes, a collection of resurrected poetry written by the brides of this history and inspired by the Holy Spirit. And presented by me, I am Youngse. I am from South Africa, but I've been living in Korea for more than 5 years now. And I am super happy to be here. I love poetry, and I'm happy to present to you the poetry that the brides have written. And through these poems, we can hear the experiences of everyone, probably people you wouldn't really, maybe might never even meet in person, but you can connect in this way, hearing what they've written while experiencing their daily life of faith, capturing their realizations and experiences in poetry. So it's very exciting, and this is our 14th week here on the Morning Star Drive. And so far, I've shared all kinds of poems, the Sangsim's poems, I've shared some raps, but there's a lot to come as well. And this is the year of Yeongyuk Serupke, a lot of new things. And so it's very exciting, and I'm happy to have you here. And also, if you have written something, please feel very welcome and free to share. You can find the email in the description below. And please get in contact with me. I would love to hear. Or if you want to nominate someone else, or just send me some poem that you like. Could be Sangsim's poem, or any poem that you like, that you feel inspired by, and just share with me. It's fun to hear. I love it. And also, I want to hear what you think in the comments. When you listen to today's poem, what kind of thoughts came to your mind? Yeah, let us know in the comments. Let's have a little poetry discussion. It's always fun. We love that. So yeah, that's it. Let's get into it. Today, we have a really great poem from an amazing bride all the way from America. And her name is Rachel Walton, and she has been living in Korea also for the last few years. She was also evangelized here in Korea, and she wrote this poem called One Love Remains. And there's a pretty awesome backstory to this poem, and I'm gonna share with you what inspired Rachel to write this poem, One Love Remains. So Rachel said, "During this 21-day prayer condition, I really wanted to make my prayers deeper. So I decided to pray in a new way. I started by reading and meditating on a Psalm of David, and then writing down my own prayer in the style of a psalm each day for 7 days. So I was studying David's Psalms so I could pray in the style of a psalm for this history. Each day, I poured out my heart in those prayers and reflected deeply on them, continuing the prayers from pre-dawn and throughout the day. It helped my prayers to become more focused and uplifting for my spirit. Prayers started to become much easier because my thoughts were clearer. And after 7 days of praying in this way, the Holy Spirit inspired me to level up my prayers and actually started writing poems for the Trinity. Because I had received so much inspiration through reading and writing the Psalms every day the week before, my thoughts were full of prayers and the words, so poems were able to freely come in a natural and easy way. And this helped me to understand why Sangsim is able to write so many songs and poems. My inspiration is that the reason why is because his mind is so full of the word and united with the Trinity all the time that the poems of love flow out like a river from his heart. It no longer seemed like an impossible task to do what Sangsim does, but I realized that anything can be achieved when our thoughts are absolutely united with the Trinity and we fill our thoughts continuously with the word. Then God can use us and bless us tremendously to be able to do things we could never do on our own. Wow. So this is what Rachel shared. This is already so inspiring. Reading a psalm every day and then trying to write her own prayer in the style of a psalm and then writing poems with that inspiration every day. So inspiring. So that really makes us full of anticipation and excitement to hear the poem that Rachel has written after setting this condition. And let's hear that poem. It's called One Love Remains by Rachel Walton. Lord, you're searching all the earth for the hearts of those who fear you. Where are the desperate few of those who truly revere you? Your love flows like a river, but few will ever find it. Concealed within a pasture is a treasure to delight in. I came across the treasure with a poor and weary spirit. I quickly realized its value would bring blessings without limit. The Lord to me is everything. I have nowhere else to run. All else in life is meaningless. Everything under the sun. If I turn to money, it vanishes, and worldly wisdom has limits. Beauty is ever fleeting, and pride has no merits. Relationships have failed me. Vows of love were merely words. The loved ones in my life will someday fly away like birds. Nothing is permanent. People always change. But one thing that is certain is your love remains the same. My life before you was jaded, heart torn beyond repair. But I'm left stunned and captivated by your unconditional care. All the love I've yearned for is only found in you. My wounds and scars are healed by your holy truth. Wow, just reading this poem gives me so much grace. I am fully showered in grace. And this is such a beautiful poem. Thank you so much, Rachel. And thank you for sharing us the condition you have set. This is so amazing to hear because it's something that we can do. Something that really inspires me. That we can take action on. That we could do a little bit more. And try to do something in a new way. Try to fill our minds with the word more, with the Psalms, and try to express our confessions in a creative way. Even if we've never tried it before, maybe this is something that would give us new fire if we try it, if it's something that you've never done before. So yeah, I want to challenge everyone to give it a go and try to write something. It's really fun, and it also it's like a poetic diary. You look back and you make these stories and you feel inspired and you capture it in poetry and you can read it again and you can feel that same fire and inspiration that you felt when you wrote it. And it's just like, wow, all over again. Amazing. So that's it for today. And Rachel is also an up-and-coming super YouTuber. And she has her own channel with awesome content. You can support her, you can subscribe, and you can watch her videos, like and comment and share. Her channel is called Raw Speaks Live. RAW stands for Rachel Ann Walton. Raw Speaks Live. So go check it out. It's really cool. And if I can say a side note here, Rachel and I might have made a song together, we might have, and it might be on SoundCloud, on my SoundCloud, and my SoundCloud might be Yongsei, it might be called Yongsei, I don't know. If you go check it out, maybe you can find it. I don't know. Yeah, we made a song together called Holy Spirit's Fire of Sunset, and it's a song that we really made being inspired by the Holy Spirit, and we wanted to give glory to the Holy Spirit. And like the main like visual image inspiration of for this song is the sunset, the fiery, beautiful sunset that reminds us of the Holy Spirit. And so you could check it out. You might be able to find something on SoundCloud on my channel called the Youngsay. You might be able to find like some of the raps that I've shared on Victory Rhymes from before on there as well. And okay, that brings us to the end, everyone. I hope you have an amazing day together with the Trinity and the Lord. And I'll be back again next week with another segment of Victory Rhymes. And I'm Youngsay. Goodbye.
And thank you so much once again, Youngsay, for another awesome episode of Victory Rhymes, looking at these resurrected poems in this new history. Thank you so much. You've already done 14 segments. So grateful and thankful that you are contributing, and I hope that a lot of us too will get inspired to send in their poems, to recommend other poems. The one poem, like Youngsay, the one I want to hear again is the one that Sunseem talked about on the Sunday message, when it's about speaking what you need to say, right? Saying the things you need to say so you have no regrets when you go to heaven, right? So if I have requests, that's the one I want to hear. But either way, thank you so much for that wonderful episode, which is the last segment for today, which means it is the end of the Thursday podcast, and I hope you guys really, really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are looking forward to tomorrow because it's Friday, the end of the week, right? We're always looking forward to Friday. Everyone, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly, so let's realign. Just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion.